Hey guys, CG here, coming at you with the second part of our Ant-Man character bios. Last time was Hank Pym, which came out yesterday when I'm recording this, and hopefully this will be up by tonight, so, it'll be a two-part, two-day thing. But anyways, so the first part was Hank Pym, of course, the original Ant-Man, and one of the first Avengers, probably the more well-known Ant-Man, because I think a lot of people just know him as one of the first Avengers and, from Earth's Mightiest Heroes and whatnot. But a lot of people might not know who Scott Lang is, and with the rumors that Paul Rudd is going to be playing Scott Lang and not Hank Pym, more or less confirmed rumors. Now, a lot of people probably are curious as to who, Scott Lang is. Because it sounds like he's going to be the main character of the upcoming movie, and this character bio hopefully will clear some of that up for you. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. I will say first, where Hank Pym, this is just like talking about the abilities here first, not going to go into the whole thing, but just as like a little note for you guys. Scott Lang doesn't have, the giant man thing. He doesn't grow in size. He just shrinks. So all he is Ant-Man. He's not like Goliath or, Yellow Jacket or whatever that Hank Pym was doing with all that mess. He just shrinks. He's just Ant-Man. But anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Scott Lang was born in Coral Gables, Florida, and was an electronics expert, and he had a wife and daughter. He worked in repairs, electronics repairs, and that apparently wasn't bringing in enough money to support his family, so he turned to burglary, desperate to provide for them, and he was caught. And he served a couple years in prison before being let out on good behavior. But, of course, his wife left him during that time. Because women, man, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, his wife divorced him, and when he was released on parole, he got a job at Stark International. About this time, his daughter was diagnosed with a dangerous congenital heart condition, and that needed almost immediate operation to save her life. He needed a surgeon named Dr. Erica Sondheim to perform the operation, but she was kidnapped. It says he there, so forgive Josh for that mistake. She was kidnapped and she was being held by Cross Technological Enterprises, and I guess the CEO of that company, I can't remember his name, it's something Cross, and he went on to become the supervillain Crossfire, but Cross needed the doctor to perform surgery on him for his heart condition, so it was a little bit of a conflict of interest there, and Lang did the only thing he knew how, which was burglarize, and he broke into Hank Pym's home in New Jersey, stole the Ant-Man attire and Pym particles, and decided to rescue Dr. Sondheim. Hank Pym actually saw him breaking in and taking the stuff, and just was like, I wonder what he's going to do with it. So he kind of just let it happen and watched him go on and, do what he needed to do. And with the Ant-Man suit, he managed to sneak into Cross Technological Enterprises, and he found Dr. Sondheim. Darren Cross, that's the name. And with the Ant-Man abilities, he managed to defeat the now mutated Cross, and he saved Dr. Sondheim. And afterwards, Sondheim agreed to perform the surgery on Cassie. Cassie's, life was saved, and Scott was intended to bring the Ant-Man suit back to Hank Pym, but Pym said, you know what, you could do good with it, keep it, and that's how the second Ant-Man was born, because Hank Pym was Yellow Jacket anyways, and he was dealing with some shit of his own. But as Ant-Man, Scott initially worked as a hero part-time, still working for Stark International until it was bought out by Stain International, and out of respect for Tony Stark, he actually resigned that job and opened his own electronics business. Eventually, over the years, he became involved with more teams while assisting other heroes, and currently he leads the Future Foundation team with Medusa, Miss Thing, and She-Hulk as the core 4 members in New York. And actually, the story behind that is really, really interesting, because apparently the Fantastic Four were like, oh, we're going to go on a mission, but let's choose 4 replacements just in case something goes wrong. And of course, something went wrong, and so now they lead the Future Foundation. And for his abilities, Scott Lang can reduce his size with the Ant-Man helmet. He can manipulate and communicate with insects, especially ants. And that's because I mentioned in the Hank Pym one, it's like some sort of psionic electrical impulse thing that allows him to communicate with ants. But anyways, he also retains normal strength when shrunk, which is incredibly, good, because that's pretty powerful for such a small body. And he's also very skilled with electronics. Of course, we talked about how he got a job at Stark International working in design. So clearly very gifted. And he was actually chosen by Reed Richards to replace him as the lead scientist in the Fantastic Four, and he's worked pretty closely with the Fantastic Four over the years. But anyways, some recommended reading: Marvel Premiere number 47 and 48, Iron Man number 133, Heroes for Hire number 6 through 16. Interestingly enough, he actually worked with the Heroes for Hire after most of the heroes of Earth were, I think, thought dead after their battle with Onslaught. Avengers Disassembled Collection is another great thing you can read about Scott Lang in. Avengers: The Children's Crusade, number 5 through 9, another great piece of writing for you there. And Fantastic Four Volume 1. Now, that about wraps it up here. Scott Lang is definitely a little less, you could say, controversial than Hank Pym. But he's still, you know, he doesn't have that sort of side to him, but a lot of stuff he does is for his daughter. His daughter eventually becomes a superhero of her own, or a superheroine, I guess, maybe, of her own, later on in life, and that's in that Children's Crusade stories. Very dramatic stuff there. But of course, he's the less controversial Ant-Man, but he's one that can always be seen as a hero, so that gets him a little less attention than Hank Pym. But, you know, in the end, he is another great addition. He's another great person to have worn that armor, and he's really, you know, he's a true hero when you think about it. Everything he does is for good, even though he's had a bad rap, and he's a true redemption story in my eyes. So he's a great read, a great character, and while not as controversial or honestly interesting as Hank Pym, he is still definitely a good character. For this one, I'm going to say go back and take a shot for every time that I've said great character or good character. You can tell me that I'm rambling now. So, wrapping it up, I'm CJ. Stay tuned here at the Hybrid Network for news on all things comics, whether it's comic book movies, reviews, news, or character bios. And signing off, I'll see you next time.